Hello friends, welcome to HQ webinar demo session. In this demo session, I'm going to show you how to create, share and host your webinars. And further, how can you monetize your webinars on this platform. So we start with the login screen. Here I'll put in my credentials. For you it will be your credentials. So we put in our email ID, password and login and land on this page. So on this page you'll see right on top there is this menu. We'll talk about the menu items a little later in our session. So you can see my events, app integration, contacts, recordings, settings, logout. You can hide this menu if you want to. And if you come down, you'll see these three tabs. This is for the upcoming webinars. Any webinar that you have scheduled in the future will show up here. Right now we don't have none. So we'll create a new webinar which will show here. Then you can see the next tab, which is the past webinars which have already ended. You can convert these past webinars into replays if you want to using this button. So all the webinars that you have converted into replays will show up in the next tab. You have this button right here. You can see create webinar replay. So now let's go to upcoming webinars. Since we have none, we'll create new one. So put in a webinar title. We'll put demo video for now. Webinar time zone. Since I'm in India right now, by default the time zone shows correct. You can whichever geographical location you are in, you can select your time zone accordingly. Then you can put a logo for your webinar, kind of an identification. So you can upload a picture if you want to. We recommend you put in tags for your webinar, so it indexes. It's easier for you to look for past webinars later. And then you can schedule. You can select a time. You see it's a pretty intuitive design. So right now we'll select say 3 p.m. So this is since we did not select a logo, this is by default. You will have an option of changing it later. So you can see the title of the webinar, the time. You can mouse over the time and see the time converted into your time zone. So here are the webinar details. In the previous screen we had put in the webinar name. You might want to put in description. You can select a picture here. Again, let's select one. You'll see. So you will be able to edit it here. If you want to crop it, you can. We'll select the whole logo here for now. So here we go. It's uploaded now. You see the change. The logo has changed now. Now, during the webinar, if you want to keep your chat private, by default you can leave it here. If you want to make it public, you can switch this to public. The next switch is to redirect your attendees after the webinar. If you want to redirect them to a custom URL, you can select yes here and put in the custom URL, or else leave it at no. Now, if this is a free webinar, by default it's a free webinar. If you want to make it paid, you switch it to paid and put in the amount. So this comes with a caveat. This is with the assumption that you have already connected your payment gateway, which you'll see in app integration. So here we have already connected our PayPal. You have MailChimp, GetResponse, different kind of applications that you can integrate here. You can see the whole list here. Now, this is the registration page. You see the URL here. We'll go to the registration page and see how does it look like right now. So it's showing the time left for the webinar. You can connect it, you can add it to your calendar, multiple types of calendars that you can add it to. Further, to join in, right now, registration form, we have only two fields, the name and email. If you want, you can modify this page here on the registration stack. So say if you want the phone number too, okay, you can select the type of field, whether it's optional or not. We'll refresh the URL and you'll see the field being added. That's all on the go, live, on the fly. We delete it, come back, refresh the page, the field is gone. Magic. So app integration, you can connect, you can integrate multiple applications here. Right now we'll integrate MailChimp, for example. You select MailChimp, you select the list that you have already created of folks and save it. MailChimp has been integrated. Now thank you page. If you have a custom thank you page where you want your participants to be redirected after they register, you can put a URL here. Publish template for the webinar. We give you an editor where you can create your template and publish it. So we'll show it later during our session here. So now let's go back to webinar coordinators. Okay. So this is a section where you add coordinators for your webinar. You add their email ID and name. As soon as you add the coordinator, an invite goes to the coordinator. So right now we added Shubham. The status is showing pending right now since Shubham hasn't accepted it. Once he accepts our invitation, this will change to active. Let's look at the email funnel now. This email funnel basically, if you want to send notifications at different intervals to your participants, this is the section where you come in and set it up. This first template that we are looking at goes 24 hours before your session starts. This is for 1 hour, 15 minutes, all similar kind of templates. So you will have to enable the email funnel function right on the top, and then for each individual email you can go and make them active or switch them on or off accordingly based on your requirement. So we will disable it for now. We go to the registrants page, registration page, resources. So any webinar resource that you want to add, you will add it here. Let's look at an example. You come, select a file, and say save the presentation material. Get saved. You can see all the resources listed down here. We come to tracking now. As most of you would know, we can use the pixel codes here to track our participants. So registration, thank you page, webinar, we can put the pixel code at these three locations. So we come to the branding section. This section you will use to brand your webinar. So you can see the default logo here. We'll select something right now. We give you the option of cropping it. Once cropped, it gets uploaded. You can change the colors. There are a lot of other features that you will see once you start playing with the application. So pages, registration, you want to enable it. Confirmation, reminder emails, you can enable. Webinar room, you can enable all these designs to go in there. Now, so this is our demo page. See, we change the color, we change the logo, and the whole branding changes on the registration page. Now we go to the registrants. Since we don't have a registrant, we just created this webinar. We don't have a registrant, so we don't see none there. But we'll add, we'll register with my friend's name and his email ID so that I can show you how the registrants will show up on that tab. So we have one registered user now. We'll go back and see the registrants. We'll refresh. Ding dong, it's right here. The status is showing pending for now since since the registrant hasn't opened the custom URL that was created for the user. That's why the status here is showing pending. Once the URL is okay, here we go. So we are at the host screen right now. As you can see, the button right in the center. You can check your video, microphone, whatever you want to check. I come here live. Hello, how are you? Alright, so on this screen you see, so this is the registration page that an attendee will come and register themselves. So we'll use some credentials right now to register. The registration is done. Now we get our custom URL. We can use this custom URL to get into the webinar. Alright, hi. We are back to the presenter screen now. You can see right on the top, bottom if you see, you can see the time running. There is one presenter and one viewer right now. We can have live chat. So since we selected it's a private conversation. Okay, yeah, you see the message coming here. It's all on the fly. You come back, the message is going back and forth. So it's a live chat going on right now. It's a private chat between the presenter and the attendee. Alright, so now we are live on air. If you see on the bottom, someone was barking. So live on air. On the right hand side, you can see the chat window. As a host, I'm chatting back and forth with one of the attendees. You see the messages going back and forth on the fly. So on the presenter screen, you will see this button right on the top for sharing your screen. You can share an application window if you want to, or you can share the whole screen. So right now we are sharing an application window, which is our web browser right now. All our attendees, the attendees here, you can see the attendee can see the screen. You will have multiple screens if there are multiple presenters, co-hosts. So an attendee will see all the screens. You might see multiple screens right at the bottom. You can select any of the screens to make it the primary screen, and you have individual controls for each screen. You can switch off the speaker. Now, so on the presenter screen, you can see all these controls on the menu right at the top. So this control is to turn off your camera in between. You can switch off your microphone, make it full screen. These chat windows, if as a presenter you want to make any note, you can do it here. You want to have any individual chat with an individual attendee, you can do it from here. Alright, so now we'll end the webinar. And we go back to the thank you page where the attendee can rate the webinar right there. As soon as the rating is done, the presenter will see it on their screen. Here, since we ended our webinar, the video is getting uploaded there. It's all done. It will show up in the past webinars. You can see right here with one attendee and one registrant. The attendee gave us 5 stars. You We can go and see the details of the attendees in there. Alright guys, thank you.